Here we are at the last song on the album, and it's called Full Circle. And it starts off with an account of one of the many times that I'd wake up and find myself in the bed where I grew up. I'd realise I was dreaming, and then I'd be surprised that the cupboard was empty. The entity had been such a big part of my dreams for so long that I always half expected it still to be there. And on several occasions, I'd push my way through the back of that cupboard, and there was always something magical in that now empty lair that had once housed such a terrifying entity. Once I even ventured through the back of the cupboard into the fictional realms of Narnia. And at this point, the album also ventures into the realms of fiction, a possible future, a future where I've gained full lucidity in my dreams and conquered all of my inner demons. A future where one evening I push my way through the back of that cupboard and find myself coming out in a familiar hallway at the foot of a staircase, and I see a small figure cowering in the shadows, and remembering my own experience with the monster in the cupboard, I go over to him and offer him a small piece of candy as a sign of my intention of friendship. And as he takes this gift from me, his face emerges from the shadows, and I realise that he is me.
His face I recognize. He is me. And he cries. Stop!
He then disappears, and I go outside into the dream, and I try to fly off, but I can't. I try again, but it seems that I've lost my powers in the dream world. Have I been tricked? Have I given my powers and my gift of lucid dreaming to some version of myself from the past? Have I become the monster in the cupboard? Was I always the monster in the cupboard? Confused, I wake up and am shocked to discover that I have my dream powers in the real world. My brother, the teacher, appears and suggests that it might be a false awakening and that I should remember his first lesson, close my eyes and wish myself awake. But when I do this, I just pass straight into the white light. I try and try again, but each time that I close my eyes, I go straight into the light. I can't wake up. Believing that I might be dead, I surrender to the white light, and once again, I feel myself disconnected from my body. But this time, I don't sense myself lying in bed. I sense myself in some distant, far-off grave. And as I realise that that person is no longer me, I hear the voices of my brother, the teacher, and my wife, the dream girl, urging me to awaken in my death and try to figure out just exactly what has happened.
Waking in your death, live another life after your time. Here after your breath, wake up, lucid guide.
The second verse in this song sees the character of me, the dreamer, played by Simone Rossetti, and the first entity played by Arjen Lucassen, and the second entity played by myself. The three characters sing in unison to symbolise the merging into one being. And if you look at the character key in the CD booklet, you'll see that the first entity is also the higher self, and the second entity is also the highest self. And this is referring to a concept that exists in certain philosophical and religious traditions, where each of us has a higher self, or a Christ self as it's often referred to, and that we can connect to that higher self by eliminating our egos, our fears and desires. And through that connection we can then access the highest self, or the God self as it's sometimes called. In some of these traditions, this is achieved through lucid dreaming, and specifically through the methods that I've described of eliminating negative entities within our dreams. I don't claim to fully understand what these old traditions were referring to, but what I do know is that one can better oneself through lucid dreaming and through the process of recognising and eliminating negative thought patterns from within. And maybe the higher self is the state that we reach when we eliminate these thought patterns and ways of thinking that we've developed throughout our lives. And maybe when we also eliminate those instinctual inherited fears, like the fear of death and the fear of the dark, maybe then we find ourselves more in control, not being pulled this way and that way by old thinking habits and defunct irrational fears. And I would say that that could be classed as a higher state of consciousness, or a state of higher self. Being in touch with your higher self could simply mean being lucid and using your dreams in this way to become the master of your subconscious mind. And when we reach a certain level, maybe we find that there's nothing coming between us and that collective unconscious, that wealth of information that is stored inside each and every one of us, like the genetic knowledge that builds and repairs our bodies, or the wisdom of our immune system and its ability to eliminate bacteria and viruses, or the secret inner workings of our brain, like how memories are stored and retrieved, or even the mysterious source of self-awareness itself, the deeper secrets of the quantum world, and maybe even the fundamental nature of reality. All of this knowledge is inside of us, passed on to us from the earliest life forms and before, and stored in our cells and our genetic structure, and in the particles and strange forces that are the very fabric and essence of who we are. And maybe accessing this information is the connection to the highest self, or God self, that these traditions were speaking of. They also suggest that achieving this connection not only allows one to experience lucid dreaming and a lucid life, but also a lucid death.
I am now disconnected. My present is a me.
So back to verse 2 in this song, where all of this is symbolised by the three characters becoming one as the dreamer achieves this higher state. And by the end of the album, it seems that he's passed over into death, but he's still aware. And as he floats in a state of pure consciousness, he wonders whether he is dead, and if he is, then who and what and where is he? I don't claim to know if this is possible. Surviving death is one of these things that we'll all find out about one day, or not, as the case may be. Do we go back to a place outside of time and space? A place not dissimilar to our dreams? Maybe even a place of pure white light? Were my dreams of white light just memories of the womb, or memories of something prior to the womb? Either way, they're still one of the first things that I experienced before I came into being. Was my experience of feeling disconnected from my sleeping body, feeling that that person wasn't me and that I could have left that life behind? Was that just my mind playing tricks on me? Or was that proof that we can exist separately from our bodies and that we do survive death? It's a nice thought, but who knows? What we do know is that when we die, our body stops functioning, but our brain activity takes a few minutes longer to cease. And in that last few minutes, I'd imagine that I'll dream one last time. And as I drift into nothingness, maybe time will stretch out, as it often does in dreams. And if I'm lucid in that dying dream, maybe I'll be able to stretch time out further and further into eternity. And as my consciousness fades, I might find myself floating one last time in that pure white light in the antechamber of being. Thanks for watching.